In yesterday's IPL showdown, Delhi Capitals clinched a nail-biting victory over Gujarat Titans, powered by impressive performances from captain Rishabh Pant and Akshar Patel's Pant's scintillating knock of 88 runs, coupled with his two crucial catches, earned him the player of the match title as Delhi Capitals defended their formidable total of 225 runs, securing their fourth win of the season. In an intriguing fact emerges from Delhi's victory as they successfully defended a score of 200 or more for the 10th time in IPL history, showcasing their prowess in defending challenging targets. Turning on our attention for today's match at the Rajiv Gandhi Stadium in Hyderabad, Sunrisers Hyderabad prepares to face Royal Challengers Bangalore, with Hyderabad sitting comfortably in the third place after securing 5 wins out of their 7 matches, as they hold significant advantage over Bangalore, who languishes at the bottom of the points table with just 1 win out of the 8 matches. The history between these teams favors Hyderabad, having won 13 out of the 24 matches played so far. Well, it's a foregone conclusion that any team that plays RCB is going to emerge as winners. Well, we've got a power-packed panel of high-profile players, podcasters and media critics. Mr. Sadaran Vishwanath, jump in and save the Bangalore team campaign. Just start off with that.
Oh, if you want to start off with the RC match first. Well, the RC team will be looking to avoid another hiding.
Yes.
And SRH, they are going to come firing with all their cylinders. And having said that, I think the SRH have taken the art of T20 batting, especially in the power play, to a different level. Remember, they scored 125 for no loss,
yes,
6 overs against DC. Now, that was an amazing knock. And Travis Head is, leading the way in this great revival of the art of T20 batting, along with, his partner Abhishek Kumar and the Klassen and then Nandakushan Reddy, and all these SRH boys are just going hammer and tong. And I think they will do the same against RCB, unless RCB get their bowling together. They try and get in some variety. They probably might bring back Joseph to play today, because we paid a lot of money for it, a heavy investment. So I do hope that the Fab fans and Virat and the core of our RCB team come together one last time and give it all that they've got to try and redeem themselves and try to get back their campaign on track, because another 5 victories, we still are in the hunt if the results from the other matches come our way.
Well, very interesting point you make. David Brooks, welcome to the show, straight from London. How's the weather there?
Cold still.
Is the weather better, or RCB's performance in this IPL? What seems to be better? Because you seem to be supporter of both.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That is a tough one. They're both falling below standards. Well, look, I admire Sadnan's optimism there that it could all come good for RCB. At least you have to say that in the last match, they didn't rely on Virat. Virat was out early, so and Will Jacks showed what he's capable of. Patty Dart, they both got half centuries. So it's a comfort there in that RCB are not wholly reliant on Virat Kohli. We didn't talk about yesterday's match, which I think shouldn't go without comment.
Absolutely, please start on.
We talked about Rishabh Pant and Akshar Patel. I said, it's time for Akshar Patel to really deliver a great performance. He obliged, and we all wanted Pant to do well. And what an innings from him yesterday. I mean, the 88 not out. I mean, it obviously went very close to the wire. And like so many of the games this year, we've had some great finishes. And who would have sort of stood in the way of Rashid Khan at the end. But all credit to Pant and Akshar Patel. I thought 2 notable performances, given our conversation yesterday about teams, individuals preparing for the World Cup. So
that's correct.
Paul must be in the money.
Well, Paul, are you happy or excited about yesterday's match and today's? Of course, some stats will delight you.
Well, I think that it's clear that Ricky Ponting watches Cricket Predicta, because, and I've got to hand it to David Brooks. David was saying that David Warner should be dropped from the World Cup squad, and Ponting's pulled the plug early and dropped him from Delhi Capitals. I thought that was quite a stunning move. It paid off. I agree with David Brooks. It was great to see Rishabh Pant back in top form. He's probably my favourite Indian player. His performances in Australia a few years ago were simply unbelievable. He really captured the imagination of the Aussie public as well. And I just can't believe going into tonight, looking at I've got a list of the most economical bowlers of the tournament. There's just no one from RCB. You've got to go all the way down to the 31st placed on the list, and it's Cameron Green. I think that's their big problem. Their batting has been okay. It's just, they just can't find a way to stop the runs leaking.
Well, very interesting.
There's no balance in the team.
David Brooks, do you want to respond to Paul Dinnett's observation about your observation about the team and the comment that you made?
Yeah, I think Paul's got it spot on. Sorry, do you want me to say a few words, Sudan?
No, it's David Brooks. It's always nice to watch the conversation between an Aussie and an Englishman.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, I'll just say a quick comment before letting Sudnan in that, I think I'm not going to argue with the stats and Paul's reading of the stats. You're right. You know, it's the economy rates of the RCB attack. And, we've had Joseph, we've had Reece Topley coming in, and he got carted, and that's very unusual. He's usually an economical bowler. Now Lockie Ferguson, he's been going around the park as well. Siraj hasn't been perhaps as lethal a weapon as we thought. So, yeah, it's hard to see how they're going to put the brakes on a team like the Sunrisers. Who is going to apply the brakes? And there seems to be some lack of thinking in terms of a plan to address these batsmen. It's not. One looks at the way that RCB have been approaching these games, and it's hard to see what the plan of action is when they're on the field and trying to contain these batsmen.
Well, we speak about RCB, but at the same time, I've got this fantastic stats pulled out by our colleague Tatinda, a statisticians from Zimbabwe, and he says SRH top 3 batsmen all have a strike rate of above or nearly 200 and above, emphasizes the data-driven approach to the power play. How do you counter that? I mean, we'll come to the other points, but David Brooks, how do you counter that? And then I'll go to our friend Paul Dinett on this 200 power play kind of a strike rate. Go on, David.
Well, I mean, Sudnan, that statistic that Sudnan mentioned before, the 136 they struck off the power play, 6 overs. It's phenomenal, isn't it? And I just think you need a plan of action. I mean, where were the Yorkers? Where was the attacking the stumps? There were too many. RCB have been serving up too many platters on a plate in the slot, and we've seen that big difference in this IPL. Teams are going at it from the start, from ball 1, from over 1. They're not playing themselves in for the 2 or 3 overs. And if you serve it up on a plate, don't be surprised if it's taken with the generosity that it's offered. And I don't know what the sort of brains trust of RCB are going to come up with the experience of Virat there as well. Must be a word in Faf's ear to say there's got to be a way of containing these opening bats, because the games are getting away from RCB too early.
Well, Paul Dinett, the other part of the statistician's delight was Klassen is the only player on the top of the 3 order who have managed not to be bowled out in a game. He's managed the feat twice. Shows that he can have some maturity in the game depending in the situation. If SRH opening pair of Sharma and Head fail to put up enough runs on the board. Now, how do you define Klassen's class?
He's scary. He does things that few players can do, but I say that, he's surrounded by players who are just doing extraordinary things. His countryman, this is a stat I love, Aidan Markram has a strike rate of 136 in this IPL. That is the 7th best in the Sunrisers Hyderabad. In any other tournament in history, that would be a very, very decent strike rate. He's on the verge of getting dropped with that sort of level of strike rate. You're so right what you said, Sunil, at the start, that, again, I've got this list in front of me of all the players with the best strike rates, and I put a big red line next to the Sunrisers Hyderabad players. The red lines are 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th, right at the top. They are just dominating in a way that it's literally never occurred before. The combined strike rate I saw in Cricinfo for the Sunrisers batters so far this season is 178. and no side of the history of the IPL has ever gone above 170. And the way they're going, you wouldn't back them to drop below 170. It's almost like we've reached a new echelon, a new era in power hitting.
Sadaran Vishwanath, when I read out the third stats, it'll scare you as a RCB supporter and a follower. Travis Head, Abhishek Sharma, Klaasen scored a whopping 849 runs between them, and all three of them scoring well over 200 runs apiece. Only Rajasthan Royals have a better top three in Ryan Parag, Sanju Samson, Joss Butler, who've scored 1,000 runs between the three. Now, does it scare you to have these three top guns just going blazing at RCB? Would you be a worried coach if you were to be at a dugout?
I wouldn't be a worried coach, and it wouldn't scare me, because I would get my data analyst with me, I would get my bowling coach along, we would have a team meeting where we have some interesting decisions to be made, and we will analyze the wind conditions, we will analyze whether it was a left and right-hander combination. I mean, there's so much of data that we can receive, and that's where stats play a very important role. And not only to predict the wind, we can also form a strategy using stats.
That's correct.
And yeah, you can't stop this juggernaut. I mean, SRH have gone berserk, they've gone crazy. That's what I was saying, so then they've taken the art of T20 batting, especially up the order, they've taken it to a different level. I mean, they've crossed 250 already 3 times in this tournament, and that's never ever happened before. So hats off and kudos to the SRH people and the management and the batsmen who are actually executing the plans. And I, as a coach, would like to have my bowlers to study the videos, to study all the information they can get from the data analyst, and to put all the wisdom and experience together and try to come up with a plan. Sometimes the batting coach, actually comes up with a bowling plan. And sometimes the bowling coach comes up with a batting plan. It's just actually quite humorous. But it works sometimes like that. And that's all there is to it. So I wouldn't be scared, not at all. I would accept the challenge.
Well, absolutely. Let me throw in another set of data at you. Karthik, 251 runs with an average of 62, 196 is the strike rate. Patidar, 161 runs, 100 deliveries, 23 average, 161. Duplessis, you have 239, 157 balls, 29 is the average, and 152 is the strike rate. And the fourth is the biggest name, 379 runs, 252 deliveries, 63 average, strike rate of 150, and he scored 36 fours and 16 sixes. And we are talking about Virat Kohli. Now, the reason for explaining this data was to tell you that 78% of the runs, Sadaran, are scored by these 4 batters. Now, isn't that a point of concern, if not the opposition?
Yeah, our foreign players have not delivered the goods. There's no doubt about that. And we had gone off the boil, except in the last match where we've come back to life. And, we're breathing in some new life so that we can try to win the remaining 5 games. And I think the batsmen have not been consistent. They've gone blow hot, blow cold, and except for Virat. And maybe Faf also came into form slightly late. Faf has become more of a domesticated man. He's got 2 kids now. He's got a beautiful wife. I happened to meet him at breakfast at the West End Hotel. And I went and congratulated him for his beautiful captaincy and for his wonderful fielding and for his wonderful batting. And he was a delight to talk to. It was great talking to him. He introduced me to his wife and 2 kids. So, well, that's another story for another day. But what I'm trying to say is, yeah, he's a great leader, and I only wish that he could have motivated the rest of the team to excel. But he actually feels that the batting is not a problem. He always feels that bowling, as far as bowling is concerned, the RCB bowlers have let our team down, not just this season, but for so many years, our team has not got the bowling unit correctly fixed by the guys who put in the auction. I mean, what are they doing? The guys who sit in the auction table, that is almost like the drawing board. The drawing board starts at the auction table.
That's correct.
So I only wish and pray that the next time the RCB think tank sit at that auction table, I hope they really put their ticking hat on and choose and form a formidable team with a beautiful balance.
Well, we couldn't agree more in the studio, along with my colleague who's done some auctions of highest order, Vineet Malhotra. He always says that the team is won usually on the auction table rather than they win on the field before they actually do that. But that's a different story altogether. Paul Dinette, I've got another point and an observation, and since you can't see the screen, let me rattle out 2 points to you. Karthik has scored 251 runs, Kohli has scored 379. Now Karthik has taken 128 deliveries and Kohli has taken 252 deliveries for 379 runs. Now just imagine, they've got the similar average, but the strike rate of Karthik is 196 as compared to 150 of Virat Kohli. Now my question to you is, if Karthik would have played instead of 128 deliveries to 250 deliveries which Virat Kohli played, do you think he would have prolonged and he could have emerged as one of the top 3 batters, considering he comes for a small period of time for a burst and he's stayed not out on fewer occasions? So what do you make of it? Is Karthik coming and saying, hey, I'm the intruder and suddenly I'm the guy who has thrown his hat in the ring for the World Cup spot? You tell me.
I kind of accept half that, Sunil. I think that where I would disagree, I don't think that the implication that Kohli's batting too high is true. But I think in general, far too many of the really outstanding players are batting a little bit too low, and that they don't have the opportunity to make the impact on the matches that they should. I mean, the innings that Karthik played in a losing cause the last time these two sides met was utterly extraordinary, and he got out off, what was it, the last ball of the second last over, when he'd almost got them to a point where they were within a hope. Had he come out a little bit earlier, maybe it would have been different. But there's an example from last night that, as brilliant as Rashid Khan was, why wasn't he getting a chance to bat a little bit earlier? Surely the example of Sunil Narayan must be taken by more of these franchises. Get them in early, because otherwise they don't get an opportunity.
Sadanan, I've got another fan question, rather a statistic dug out by my colleague Natalie. Sadanan, how about RCB's bowling economy, because it's higher than Sunrisers? So what strategy can the coach use with bowlers who have an economy rate that's higher than their opponents? Now, how do you counter that situation, Sadanan Vishwanath?
Well, I think our fan is an RCB fan. So thank you for that question. Well, yeah, all the RCB boys, the bowlers especially, Indian and the foreign player bowlers who have been expensive purchases, have all gone for over 10. And it's been a nightmare for Pat. He doesn't have a bowling plan. He's always been going along with the batsmen. But if you look at the stats and then try to form a formula to try and break this jinx, I would go with Vaishak Vijay Kumar. I would go with some other local bowlers. I would also have played Karan Sharma. You know, I would have also asked Cameron Green to step up. I would have motivated Cameron Green, because I feel that he just needs a little bit of a pep talk. He could have actually been very handy for us if he had even used properly as an all-rounder. Maybe they should have batted him up to order and then given him more responsibility with the new ball. So there's so much of strategy, there's so much of things that could have been done. I only hope that they get it right the next season. Now it's too late. I must tell my fan friend, it's too late. A lot of water has gone under the Solvay. So I think we have to keep it for the next year, and the next 5 matches that RCB have, try and do their best with whatever bowling power that we have.
Well, David Brooks, do you think we are moving towards the hundreds? Player coming in and just taking like the baseball shots and just leaving nothing for chance. David Brooks.
Yeah, it seems like we've gone on to the next level where teams tee off from the word go, and it's similar to the way that we've seen the ODI teams suddenly, where 300 became a regular occurrence, then 350. So there's definitely been teams hitting out from ball one with the confidence of knowing the pitches are there and the impact player. They've got the extra option of bringing in an extra batter if necessary. So, in a sense, it's summed up to me by the last game where you see a batsman of the class of Kane Williamson, on the bench, not being called into action, one of the top batsmen in the world. And this is the danger, isn't it? The game's turning into the game for the sloggers, and I say that without it being completely pejorative, but people expected to tee off from ball one, and the quality players may be being overlooked. So we're losing something, and that's why what we've talked about in the past, the balance between bat and ball, needs looking at. But that's not going to save RCB today. You look at the two sides and say, right, are they going to be able to put any sort of containment on the Sunrisers batting lineup? And not just because of the stats that Paul told us about, but it's hard to see. I agree with Satnath that, they've got a big squad. There could have been more imaginative in the selection. There haven't been that many changes considering they haven't found the winning formula. But we're asking a lot, aren't we, to say today they're going to put a hold and contain this SRH team who, you say, there's any number of them could play the match-winning innings today.
Well, absolutely. We come to the last part of our cricket predictor. Who's going to be your favorite predictor? Of course, it's a foregone conclusion, but still, who's going to be the impact player?
Shall I go first?
Yes, David.
Whenever a game, I would say one thing. Whenever a foregone conclusion is mentioned, there tends to be a surprise. On paper, it would seem that this is an unequal struggle, and on SRH's home ground. Here's a point. Virat Kohli loves playing up this ground. He likes playing against Sunrisers here. He's got a very good record. So I'm backing Virat Kohli to make an impact today. And if he can be supported by at least a couple of the RCB players, not just Cricit, because the reason why Cricit's doing so well is there's been that vacuum in the middle order. It's Cameron Green and Glenn Maxwell have gone missing. But if someone else can produce today to support Virat Kohli, well, they might get close. But I agree, it seems like a foregone conclusion, but whenever something is too good to be true, it usually is. So could be a sting in the tail. But having said all that, it's SRH for me today.
Any Englishman making a cut in this? No. Paul Dinette, what do you make of this observation, and who do you think is going to stand out today?
I completely agree with what David Brooks said. I was actually going to say something very similar, that you can't really tip RCB today based on form, and you look at it and think, actually, they're no chance. But all it takes is it Kohli? Is it maybe Glenn Maxwell will return to the side today and do something amazing? Maybe DK. One or two players to have a day out. They have got the firepower to shock. And, SRH look impregnable because they look like they're just going to swing from the hilt, and all the way down to Pat Cummins batting at 8. They can hit it big, but stranger things have happened. So I suppose
stranger things. Of course, we've seen one of the strange things was seeing Glenn Maxwell score 200 runs in the World Cup not long ago, and also him falling off the golf cart after that or before that. But today, Sadhanan Vishwanath, the RCB eternal fan, the former Indian player, will you still stick your neck up and say, hey, I'm still supporting RCB? And if yes, are you an eternal optimist?
Yes, I am an eternal optimist, and I will go along with my colleagues Paul and David. And I still remember that old English saying, old English maxim, it ain't over till the fat lady sings. So anything can happen in cricket. It's a very funny game. There have been miracles that have been happening. England once won a match 500-1 versus Australia when Botham and Bob Willis turned it around. So a lot of things happen like this. So I would like to go with RCB this evening. Come on, boys. Easily cup number.
So great. That's an interesting observation to close our show on. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us from all parts of the world. And thank you, Sadhanan Vishwanath, for sharing your optimism. Hope it rubs off on the RCB tonight. Well, that's all we had time for. Keep watching NewsX.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.